What is up? What's up, everybody? Andre from Edgeful here with me on the live stream. What's up, Andre? How you doing? Mic check.
Hopefully, well, can you
There it
hear me?
goes. I got you
There it
now. I
goes. All
got you
right,
now. There
perfect.
we go.
So
What's
thanks for
up? How you
having me.
doing?
Good, man. New year. I'm excited for this year. We've been talking a little bit about how the markets have been changing over the
Yeah,
last, I don't know how long, over the last like few months. Like we talk probably like every day, every other day about the markets. And
that dang gap fill. It doesn't want to fill right now. I don't know. Like
yeah,
today's
in
another one, right?
December. Yep, in December it's been a pain, honestly. And it's been good though. Overall, it's been good. How's everything been with you?
Good, good. We've had some nice streams actually on this very channel. Using the data, I throw up Edgeful. I've been showing everyone this what's in play. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like I've been saying, it was a game changer since last summer when it was in development, and I'm loving that. Finding some of these reports. I'll tell you what's interesting, Andre. There's some reports that maybe I don't use that often, but
yeah,
some of the viewers, they've been jumping in the comments and saying, "Hey, check out this
good.
report, the IB report, or this or that," and I'm like, okay, let me add that one to my arsenal a little bit, or this or that. So it's been a good deal. Do you want to throw your screen up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The I'm gonna share my screen. Let me know if you could see this. Okay, if everyone can see this.
Perfect. Yeah, it looks
So
good on my end.
perfect. One thing that I mean, you just mentioned the what's in play. So we are going to be releasing the update. I know that I have spoken about it a couple times, but the update is going to be. I'm pulling it up right now. One sec. Look. So this new interface that we're coming out with is we're going to be actually releasing it in a couple in a couple weeks, actually. Wait, let me find it. Sorry. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I actually wanted to talk to you about this for the what's in play specifically. So I was thinking about to make it easier on the eyes so people know what's in play versus what's not in play. What if we had some sort of green or red outline to
Ooh,
indicate something is in play or no longer in play? Now, I want
yeah.
to, before I get your thoughts on that, I just
Okay.
want to ask, what if we had it where a blue outline was in play and then gray is no longer in play because some of them are in play all day? So in this case, like opening candle continuation, it sets up every day and it's in play every day. So I'm just curious what you think.
Yeah, so like I would say like either a green or a blue. Maybe a blue is like in play, a green is like played out, and red is like off the table. I think that would make perfect sense in a way, or some type of color scheme like that. But
Yeah,
that would be a great visual for like, especially for me personally, while I'm live trading, I jump in
yeah,
and I look at it, and if I have okay, throw this one out, this one's done, right? Or
yeah,
kind of like the gap fill on in the gap fill indicator you guys have. When that gap
yeah,
fills, that candle shoots up and it's orange now. I
yeah,
I, I love that. So like it's like, hey, this is played out, this is done.
yeah,
That's a fantastic addition. I feel like it's going
yeah,
to be super helpful to all of us users.
yeah. The what's in play, we're really trying to shift the core of Edgeful to move to the what's in play because it will also house the data as well. So, for example, like today, let's see the gap stats here. So actually, this is a new indicator that we added, which I personally really like. And what this does, it's called the gap fill size extensions. And what this will do is it always marks out the previous close. So you can see this blue line is the previous close. And it's a really easy way for you to measure, pretty much like see how big the gap is. So right now I have this one set at 0.5. If you were to set it at like 0.7, and then another 0.7 down here, what'll happen is you're starting to like move out like the threshold for when you can take a trade. So let's say you say, I want to take a gap fill trade as long as it's within 0.7%, which would fall into the gap fill by size, as long as it's within 0.7% of the previous close. So what you can do is you literally just like can measure this out, and you can see this is exactly 0.7, and it's automatically plotted for you. And you can obviously update it to be smaller, which I personally recommend. So if you did like 0.3 and then 0.3, then you can see, okay, if price opens today outside of this green or red area right here, then that means I'm not going to take a trade, because as we know, smaller gaps tend to fill, larger gaps tend not to fill. So the reason I mention this is because all of the data will be included based on the gap size, based on everything else in the what's in play. So you won't actually have to, unless you're like more studying, go to the reports themselves. You can just go to the what's in play and see everything for what's relevant today. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That way, because that gap fill one, that's one of the things, like my brain, I automatically go into a filter mode when I look at the gap. Once we get open for the day, that's kind of the first thing. And I've done that on the stream for you guys several times.
Yeah.
When I look at that, I would say, okay, what's the size of this gap? I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing I look at, is if that gap is like today's a pretty good sized gap. We'll get those stats pulled up, but today's gap on QQQ, for example, SPY, either one, it's fairly large. I think it was like, I had what's in play pulled up.
I think it was like 0.7 or something. Yeah, something like that.
0.62 on QQQ. I'll take a look at the SPY gap, but both of those, based on the size, it automatically is like filtering against me a little bit on the size. Yeah, I've got 0.62 on QQQ.
There it is. Okay. Yeah, so on NQ right now, that gap is 0.6. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when you have well, first of all, if you were to go to the NQ, or let's just even go to the QQQ, which I know you really like. Now you can see between 0.4 and 0.6, the probabilities like are not that great. So without, like, we don't want our traders to have to go and measure the gap and then go to the stats and then see, okay, price is in, like, today's gap size is between X and X, and like now go to the stats and go find that and whatever else. Like, we just want it to be done for you when you open up edgeful. So we really want to make sure that this what's in play section starts to get built out in a way that users can just like live here during the trading day, and then they live in the reports kind of like after market close or like on the weekends. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's because for me personally, I mean, I like to go into the reports if I'm looking at something in particular, but the my landing spot is essentially what's in play every single morning. And whenever I flip back to the tab, that's where I live. I live on what's in play at this point.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the quick link where you can go straight to a certain report that's on there. So I like that, the little go to report thing. But as far as as this thing continues to get built out, it's just going to get better and better, and it's already a weapon.
Yeah, I'm really happy that people are using the what's in play now, because it is definitely in beta. So when I see people use it and they give us the feedback on like what they want, like for example, I think you were actually one of the people that said like, hey, I don't need a price chart in here. Like, don't bother putting a price chart in here, because every time I have this open, I also have a price chart open somewhere else.
Right. Yeah.
That's the type of feedback that we need to make this product something that's going to like really improve like the traders like P&Ls and like their trading overall, because it would take up so much more room. And another thing that you said specifically, which is the reason that this is actually the direct reason why we have this laid out like this, is that you want to try to see everything on one screen. Like the Webull layout, the Thinkorswim layout, everything is in one screen.
Yeah, it's that all-encompassing environment that gives you more information in one spot.
Exactly, and that's why we've shrunk these down so much to be like little cards pretty much, where you can see like the orb, the gap fill, the initial balance. You can see 6 or 8 here. Cards on one screen without scrolling, and obviously there will be more, so if you do want to scroll, you can scroll, but the reason we have this layout is because of the feedback that you gave. This is actually like the direct reason why we have this, and that's really important because now like the feedback you gave is going to help so many other people too.
Yeah, and well, I think the key there is feedback, right? So any edgeful user out there, we need you guys to send feedback in. That's how the product gets better. You know, Andre's a trader himself. Obviously, I'm a
Yep.
trader and user of this, but there's a lot of it's for traders, right? It's built for traders by a trader. But at the end of
Yep.
the day, how are the majority of people using it? What could get a little bit better? We need that feedback you sent over
Exactly.
to Andre and to the team at Edgeful, so this thing
Yep.
continues to improve and becomes I think it's already a weapon, but a weapon can always get better and develop
Yeah.
even stronger, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's the key that I would say to everyone is, I sat down with Andre a couple times and said, hey, this is what I like, this is what I think could be better. And it's like compliments are great, and I could sit here and compliment this thing all day, but when we sit down together, it's the feedback of, hey, this is what I would like to see. I think this would help me a little bit better in my trading and other traders as well. So that's what
Yep.
we need, the users to come in as well and say, hey, I would love to see this, or this idea would be cool. And I
Yep.
love this all encompassing idea of pushing everything, putting as much information but in an organized manner so that it's like a dashboard. It's kind of like what we were talking about with Webull, what Robinhood's just kind of built out with their legends,
Exactly.
where you kind of have the customizable, what do you call it? Like a template or
Like a platform.
like a workspace. Like, you're building out a workspace.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the things, like you said, it's a weapon, and you said that you love it. We're still very young. Like it'll be, I think it's going to be just around 1 year. I think we launched the product, like this app, the edgeful app, last January 15th, I think. And
we're almost there. 2 weeks.
I know. And
well, congratulations, by the way, almost a full year. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's been a great ride. And honestly, one of the most impactful things that I've really noticed that I've been a little bit surprised about is like the DMs that we get and the messages that we get, like the emails and the DMs that we get from these traders that are like, hey, I'm so thankful that you built this, because like I'm starting to pass my challenges and I'm starting to get payouts, and like, or for the people who don't use prop firms, like I'm like, this has given me the confidence to sit in these trades, to sit in my winners, and that's like changed even the mindset that I have around trading.
Yeah.
And I know that's something that you've said too, but it's just when you start to think in terms of the data and not your emotions, it makes such a big difference, because now, for example, like for a trader that would have taken this gap fill trade short, like, yes, it could work, but it's a low probability setup. And like, as long as you understand and accept that, then like take it all day. But you need to understand the odds. Like, for example, throwing a Hail Mary, the payoff could be huge.
Yeah, you get a touchdown.
Also,
but
the odds are super low.
What are the odds? Yeah.
Exactly. So
that's
like,
why they
yes,
don't
you
run
can
a Hail
always
Mary
take the
every
trade.
play. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's part of it. And just to piggyback off what you said there, for me, I mean, being more profitable, it definitely has happened. But the biggest change for me is staying away from bad trades, because I can look at something like you just mentioned as low probability and say, I don't need to try to, I don't need to be in a trade that's just going against me and set up poorly. But if I can pull the data and the odds on something and say, okay, everything to this structure is bullish, or the data is telling me that we're probably going to break we broke the upside of the IB or the orb. The fact that we come down 10% of the time or 15% of the time to break both sides, like I've adjusted my targets too. So it's like allowed me to catch more profit by saying, okay, instead of trying to hold this and then it comes back and stops me out, break even, maybe I'm able to capture even a little bit more. I am sitting in a short right now, by the way, and it's working out very, very
so
nicely.
Happy about that.
Very, very nicely.
And beautiful, which I'm really happy about.
Oh gosh, what a drop here. There, and I'm out right there. We back tested the level I wanted.
Beautiful.
And see, this could continue, but you have a big move down. yeah, we could look for that gap to fill, but the gap is still way down there. I don't really
Yeah,
want to push this trade. You're coming into pre-market Globex highs. This is where instead of playing the gap fill, I'm taking profit. And you look at this; it's already bounced 20 points from where I was just telling you that I had a resting order to get out.
yeah,
That's a live example, and I know I didn't have the example up on the screen, but or I didn't really call it the trade, but the example still
yeah,
remains. I took profit right here. It could continue, but to me, the probabilities here are against me in a way that
correct.
are we going to come all the way down and fill this gap? Before I used edgeful, I would say that's my target. That gap fill is my target. Now I look at this going, okay, the probabilities aren't great that we're going there. I want to catch the bulk of the move, and I just did.
Yeah,
Here's a good spot that I should get out. And if it feels great. But what I'm not
yeah,
going to do is sit there and look for this gap fill to come down even further and watch this trade come back and my profits go down. Even if I go
correct.
break even stop, even if I put my stop in profit, am I capturing the majority of the move, or am I trying to hit home runs and flying out to center field every time? There's a big
Yeah,
difference there.
and there's something that I've actually been considering recently. And it's funny that we're talking specifically about these gap fills because if at you look at the last week, I think it was of November, or no, it was actually where was it? Where was it?
The entire month of
Was it
December.
here? Yeah, I know. No, there was like one crazy move. Okay, pretty much like the logic that I use relating to these gap fills, and to any like medium to low probability trade is if you're going to take a low probability trade that does have a huge payoff, like in this case here, like going for the gap fill right here. If you are going to take this trade, you need to go into it expecting to lose, and you need to be okay, and you need to make sure that your risk is like very tailored on these trades where you're like, you know what, I'm going to take this trade. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm okay with taking this loss. And these things don't actually, obviously, because data backed, they don't actually happen very often. So you need to account, and you need to have a decent buffer in your actual account to be able to take these losses. Like maybe let's just say 5 losses before you have one winner that will take care of all of the losses and more.
Yeah, I mean that's the risk management and sizing aspect of all of this too.
Yeah,
And the big key for that is, for me at least, starting to work in the data and probabilities into that. It's knowing my own, okay, I can afford to take 3 or 4 losses shooting for a big trade because the risk reward profile is correct. But at the
correct.
same time, you have to apply that one step further, and by adding in, okay, what does my trade look like as well? What does the
Yeah,
data tell me that my odds are that this trade goes in my favorite?
yeah,
I think that's the step that a lot of traders are missing, and I think that's the where edgeful comes in and takes you from, it could, and you may be a profitable trader already. I think there's several profitable traders out there that are, you're looking to just take it to the next level. How do I go from,
yeah,
making, profitable trades daily, small little base hits? How do I make those add up a little bit better? How do I capture a little
yeah,
bit more? That I
yeah,
think that's where a lot of people are as well.
yeah. And it's for anyone who's starting a new account, a small account. Like, first of all, I don't recommend typically saying like small account challenges. Like, I don't think you should try the $100 to 100K. Like, I don't think those are fantastic, but just because of the habits that it builds. But also, side point, what a fantastic exit on your part.
Yeah, 70-point bounce right here.
Yeah.
I hope somebody went long when
Um,
I exited. Golly.
yeah. But if you're trying to pass a challenge, you're trying to build an account with your own capital. Understand, honestly, like outside of the fundamentals of like not using way too much size relative to your account, one of the biggest things that I recommend is just being able to like develop the ability to sit on your hands when there isn't an actual trade setting up. Because if you stick to just high probability setups, then your account is like, it will inevitably grow. Like if you don't mess up and you don't tilt and you don't blow your account in one day, if you just stick to high probability setups, like if you have the discipline to look at today. Let's just use this as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's a big gap up today, and let's just say you're trying to like just trade the gap fill. Then this is a no trade day for you. This isn't, hey, I'll try to find a different setup, or I'll try to do this, or I'll try to do that, because if I don't do something, then I'm not like working, or I'm not going towards like my goals of becoming a better trader. Because that is actually becoming the better trader. Being able to sit on your hands and not blowing your account on a day that's a low probability setup is actually what it takes to become that good trader. And so my advice for anyone who's starting a new account or trying to pass a challenge is it's okay to not take a trade. Usually it's better to not take that trade if you're just trying to be like, I'm going to scalp 10, 20 points or whatever. It's probably better to just sit on your hands, because if that trade goes against you, then you're bound to say, I'm going to try to make it back. And then when you try to make it back, those are the days where you just blow your account.
Yeah, that's the exact point I was making. Is when you're trying to be a good trader, I think the majority of traders that have done it for maybe a year or so, you get to the point where like you can find winners. It's the losers that kill you, and it's that you get that feeling, especially if you're a futures trader, where you can be in and out of trades all the time. There's no like real limit on how many trades you take a day, right? Unless you just hit a max loss or something. But the issue becomes you take a couple winning trades, and all of a sudden you're doing good, and you can't walk away. You can't sit on your hands, or you don't have a good setup, but you're like and you just feel like you have to take a trade, and that's where, once again, putting data and probabilities behind trading becomes the safe fell that keeps you like, I can look at stuff and say, okay, does the setup look okay? It's not the greatest. It's not an A1 setup. It's maybe a B- type of setup, but I could take the shot at it. But if I actually look into it a little bit deeper, okay, what direction am I going? What am I trading against here? What are the odds that this is going to work out? And when those are against me as well, it's like, okay, I don't need to be in this trade. Why am I just donating profit back to the market?
Exactly. And this is for example, and just another piece, like you took profits here, right around here at this like 270 level.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would have said, well, I'm going to hold for the bigger move. And then they would be sitting in this drawdown, and they would probably get stopped out. I mean, on a 70-point move, I mean, that would be crazy not to close the position.
Right. Yeah. Even if you were short at 350, look, so let's say you got short at the break of 350 and you didn't take profit down there at 275, 280, I had 268 was where I had a fib retracement. If you didn't take profit down there, now you're sitting here, even if you went break even, so you can't lose on the trade, but you just gave back a 80-point trade, a 90-point trade, because you didn't take any profits, because you were looking for a gap to fill that has a very poor probability that it's going to go fill.
Correct. Yeah. And I actually struggled with this concept of you can't go broke taking profits. And obviously that's true. If you're taking a green trade, you're taking a green trade, which is great. And it's something that, for me at least, I had to find a little bit of a balance with, because when I first started trading, I just found myself just taking profits so quickly, and then price would just continue in my favor, and like that one day would have made up like my month, or the one day would have made up my week if I just had held on and like trailed my stops. You really have to find a balance, and it's like I'm not sure there's no real obviously formula for it, but it's something that comes to your, like, it's based on your personality a little bit, and like this is
everyone's
a little bit subjective.
Everyone's a little bit different.
And you can't go broke taking profits, but you can also leave a ton of money on the table. Like on a day like today, fantastic to take profits here. And understanding a little bit of the context of the market is also really important. Like, it's the first week back from the new year. Mm-hmm. You have to assume people are still getting back into the office. Like, I'm expecting personally like a little bit lower volume, a little bit choppier price action. Maybe at the start of next week, or like throughout the next week, I'm expecting the market to kind of pick back up. So
Agree.
There are
they're
these
reworking stuff too. You're selling stuff for your gains that you did want to take on this past tax year. You're selling them yesterday and today. You're buying other things back. You're readjusting your portfolio for the new year. There's a lot of intricacies moving around right now. But I don't even without that context, I can still just go straight to data, and the context is great to put with the data. Honestly, that's the way I really approach things. But whenever I'm looking at this gap fill today, what do we gap up? 0.6, I believe.
Yeah, I'm gonna look.
Just to get the clear example. I don't know what it was at the actual open, but I know
0.63.
0.63. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we go to that range and look, what's
like
our
55,
do you want to flip a coin? Do you want to flip a coin, or do you want to look and say, hey, I have Globex highs, I have London highs, or pre-market highs, whatever you're looking at, and do I want to look at that as maybe my target instead of holding for a home run and not taking anything? I mean, look, it's still holding in way back up here.
Exactly.
And that's I'm so glad we had this example today. This worked out perfectly because this, and there's a lot of reports, right? There's a ton of other things. There's a lot of different ways to look at this and approach it.
Yeah.
But the gap fills, I know it's one of your favorites, one of my favorites.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially the size of the gap fill. I do this every single morning whenever I've done my live streams. What's the size of the gap? What are we looking like on the gap fill?
Yeah.
And then if it does fill, then we we adjust after. But if I'm looking for a gap fill, or if I'm looking for it to not fill, like today, I'm pretty much leaning away from it. And you look at the structure and stuff. We'll see. It could still fill. It may take all day though. I don't want to sit in a trade all day long. I want to lock in the profit.
Yeah.
And we do have a question here, Andre.
Perfect.
What reports would you use for Forex? So just starting to dive into edgeful.
Yeah,
Sorry
no
for the big
worries.
question, but curious about Forex.
Yeah. So what I'll say is, obviously it depends. It depends on whether you're a scalper, day trader, swing trader, etc. So I just switched to the Forex tab. I'll go to whatever. I'll go to Euro USD. Where is it? Euro USD. Okay. And one of the things that I think is important is to look, a lot of people in Forex look at sessions. So for example, what I'll look at, and obviously I don't know what the actual stats are here, but I'll look at the session analysis group here. So I'll go to the market session breakout, for example. And then I'll look at, and what this report measures is how often does the New York session break out of the London range? And you can change it from London to Tokyo, you can change it from Tokyo to New York, etc. But pretty much what this shows, and I'll pull this up here.
The first thing I see is 1%. That's something that sticks out to me. I see, double break is 1%. So if it goes one way, it's usually going to trend that direction. Yeah, I'm not gonna try to fade it if it's going a certain direction. I'm gonna probably play a break and base trade.
Exactly. And so what stands out to me here is the single break and the no break are obviously the majority. This makes up 99% of all of the days. So what you want to look at here is any extreme. Typically, what you want to look at, like on edgeful, is there any extreme? Double break is 1%, which means, so now this is our London range from yesterday. This is our New York range. So now you can see right here, the New York session breaks the London low. Now, what that means for you is you don't really want to be bullish targeting, well, you definitely don't want to be targeting this area long, meaning it'll break the London high, because that has only happened 1% of the time, or 1 out of 130 days in the last 6 months.
Rare.
So what you want to be doing is plot out your London range, and then your London range, and then wait for that New York session to break through, and then that's something you want to expect some sort of continuation on. Now, I know that you can see right here there is an overlap, and I have the overlap of London and New York. You can remove that by customizing the start and end times of your sessions. So if you want to look at, like for example here, I just closed my London session at 9:30 a.m. Eastern.
Opens. Yeah, that's pretty common, I think, among a lot of traders.
Yeah. So now you click on that, I'm going to customize my indicator here to be 930. And then now you can see, now look at the difference here. 76% of the time, price is going to break one side of that London range, which is what happened yesterday. And then if we start again, I mean, today might be a different story. So 7% of the time, it's going to break one side. So now we're looking here, the London highs here, the London lows here. It broke right here, the London high, and now it's bouncing before it reaches the London low. So let me just remove this. So again, if you are taking a short trade, let's say you find some sort of short bias here, you do not want to be targeting this area, even though it may look like it's going to happen today. Even if it happens, it's not a big deal if you miss it. You want to take your profits before you get to this point here. You want to be taking your profits before this area because it is low probability. Now, here, yesterday was a great example of this. Obviously, huge sell-off. Let me just clean this up. Huge sell-off after break London low. Another big sell-off after the London low. This one, it broke the London low and it bounced. But this is the type of thing, once you break the London range, you want to expect some sort of continuation. So
and just to shout this out, this same report is on the futures as well. So if you're a futures trader, it's not just Forex. This same report is on crypto as well. So you have, it's not, this is a great example for everyone. So we're hitting Doug's question here of what can you use on Forex? This also can apply to several other markets, right? So the futures, the crypto. I mean, I look at similar stuff to this quite often, actually, if I am trading the overnight, or if we had a wild overnight Globex type of session, I'll look at this kind of stuff. And there's two ways that I can look at this. I can look at this as, okay, I'm long, like on the example, we were just saying, okay, we broke down, maybe we came to some key support. And I think, okay, we're done selling off. I'm trading back to the upside. But my target is not going to be that London high because that's such a low probability that we get there. My target, I'm going to probably target the word low. And if we get there, great. If we don't, we don't. But I'm not going to go target. I'm going to adjust my targets based on that. So it's not just saying, okay, just because it only happens 7% of the time or 5% of the time, it doesn't mean like, okay, don't trade in that direction at all. You can still trade in that direction, but let's set some reasonable targets here.
Yeah, exactly. And the ATR report is another one just like that. Like if you want to expect price to stay within that ATR and you are taking that reversal, then all you have to do is just take your profits before that ATR. The same thing applies for most of these reports. Is there's so many ways to use it, and that's why we don't tell you the exact way to use it. Like we don't say the gap fill, here's the way to use it, because for example, if you look at today, I'll just go back to SPY quickly and I'll go to the gap fill report. Like if you're looking at these larger gaps, for example, and there's almost a 70% chance that they're not going to fill. Now, if I switch over to SPY quickly, like you can, with pretty high confidence, sell credit spreads below 585. If you sell put spreads below here, then you can just expect price to chop around here all day
and burn that premium,
or go up or go down or whatever. But you know that at the end of the day, if you sell those 0 DTE SPY puts, vertical spreads in this area, there's a very high chance that you're going to do well that day. Now, it doesn't mean that price, you're not going to be in some drawdown, obviously, because sometimes those vertical spreads are a nightmare to manage. However, it is very low probability for price to come all the way back down here and put the strikes that you sold, this 585, 580, or whatever it is that you decide, or 585, whatever strikes you sell, put them in the money, which is not what you want. Option sellers, I think
that's a fantastic point too, because if you are trading, let's say you're trading options and you're looking at this on SPY, you're headed upwards, right? Your probability of coming down is maybe low, but your probability of going up could be low too. So you can actually use this data in a separate way and say, okay, instead of trying to play puts to the downside, knowing that that's not high probability, but that doesn't mean, oh, well, I should just go buy calls instead.
Exactly.
Let's put some context with this. If I have some overhead resistance or we've already moved the true range of the day, or whatever it is, maybe I don't want to buy calls up here. Maybe I just want to sell puts instead. Maybe I want to sell
Exactly.
put spread, like you just said. That is a fantastic example of
Yeah.
how to use this in another way that I think some people maybe miss at times.
Yeah, it's and again, this is the reason that we don't tell you what to do with these strategies or these reports, is because there are so many ways to use it. Like, especially for options traders, like I know that you trade options, I trade options, I also trade futures, you also trade futures, but with option strategies like iron condors, spreads, butterflies, everything, like there's so much that you can do with these reports. Like the previous day's range is another one. Like when you break previous day's high, if there's a likelihood of closing green or above the previous day's close or above the today's open, you can sell put spreads below those levels like all day.
It's the first thing that comes to my mind now, and I have some friends that are big on the spread stuff, that are really good at selecting strikes and all that stuff. And I've actually gone to them a few times and be like, hey, we just broke this, previous day range. It's an 81% chance that we're going to finish green today. Let's just go down a little bit below that.
Yeah.
Find some strikes that we can capture some decent delta and theta and burn it out.
Yeah,
exactly. Here, I'll sell these 0DTE traders. I'll sell them to you. Here, you take them.
Exactly.
And my probabilities are in my favor. I'm playing house. I'm the casino now, right? The house always wins. So that's the way I like to look at that. And this is a fantastic example of how to use that.
Yeah, it's what I'll kind of like end off by saying, we have a huge upgrade. Like, you can kind of think about it as like edgeful 2.0 now, that it's going to be here within the next like couple weeks. And the what's in play is going to be a big factor in that. We're also adding the screener for what's in play, so you can see multiple tickers at the same time.
All right. There's
going to be a this report discovery page is going to be really cool, where it's going to allow you to kind of like explore the reports better than just like this drop down that we have here, which is like not very intuitive. We're also going to have let me just zoom out here. We're also going to have a bookmarks page where you can see all the reports that you have favorited in one page. And then we're also going to have this report screener, which is going to allow you to say, I want to look at the ATR report, and then I want to see sort from highest probability to lowest probability. And like, it's going to pretty much like be a screener for edgeful reports. So in this case, you can see we're looking at ATR, ES, NQ, oil, gold, etc. These are like obviously fake, but I'll end off by saying that. And on the next stream, we'll go into a little bit more. Hopefully by that time, like, we'll actually have it live. But yeah.
Yeah. So do we have a time frame that we're looking at on edgeful 2.0?
Yeah, it's probably going to be I hope, January 20th, the third week of January.
Okay. So wow.
Hopefully, it'll hopefully be soon.
We're coming very soon. Well, I have to say, shout out to you guys. You guys have done an incredible job in just under a year. Right at a year, we're looking at coming out with edgeful. We'll call it 2.0. It's not really 2.0. Yeah. It's just getting better and better all the time.
Exactly.
If anything, I think we're at 5.0. If I'm being honest, I think it's at 5.0 from when I started using it last spring. So continued updates are happening, but a big upgrade coming. Make sure you check out edgeful.com. Check out, you simplified the packages and the pricing stuff as well.
Yeah, just one plan.
One plan, you get access to all of the stuff. You don't have to pick, am I immediate, or do I want the expert level, whatever.
Exactly.
Simplified one plan gets you everything that Edgeful offers. You've seen me use it. Those that have watched this channel, those that have watched me on X or wherever else in Discord, I use it throughout the stream, and I don't just use it on the streams. Like I've told you guys that when I'm on the stream on here, I'm doing the same thing that I'm doing all day, every day. I'm pulling up Edgeful, I'm pulling these stats. And if you follow me on X and listen to me on Spaces, wherever, you hear me saying the stuff out loud. And people ask me all the time, they're like, hey, what's the stats? What's Edgeful say about this? And I'm like, Okay, well, I'll pull one for you today, but you need to work it into your routine too. So
Yeah,
definitely worth checking out. I'm looking forward to that next stream. Especially, we have to do one once this goes live.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure,
I may
100%.
jump on a private call with you at some point just so we can
Yeah,
go through it because
yeah,
I want to see it. And I want to be ready. But either
yeah,
way, Andre, I appreciate your time. I know you've got a meeting coming up here soon.
yeah.
Wasn't the longest stream this morning, but very, very
I know.
informative, very good
Yeah,
stuff. And I think the audience obviously enjoyed it. Our view, we appreciate you tuning in there. Our streams are informative and appreciated. We appreciate you for tuning in. Make sure you guys do us a favor, like the stream, share it out to your friends, do us that favor. We appreciate everyone that tuned in. Andre, any last comments?
I'll say that I hope everyone has a fantastic 2025. This is anyone who's been struggling with their trading. This is the year to change it. Just be disciplined.
Let's do it.
Focus on what you need to focus on. This is going to be the year. I mean, the markets are probably going to be crazy, so there's a lot to take advantage of. So let's do it.
Awesome. Yeah, let's go. 2025. Let's take it to the next level. Edgeful can take you there. I am a walking example of how you can get so much better. I mean, I struggled for years trading. I did it the hard way. I did it my own way. Finally started learning some risk management. Finally got tired of running my head into the wall. And then I found Edgeful, and it took me 3 steps forward at least. So highly recommend. Go check it out, guys. Andre, appreciate your time. We'll catch you on the next one. We'll be in the DMs figuring out when we can do that. But I'm super excited about these upgrades coming and seeing where what's in play goes next. But appreciate your time. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. And we will catch you guys on the next stream. Y'all have a great weekend.